Good morning and welcome to the Friday edition of the WINY Talk Show. I'm glad it's Friday. The weekend started early last night with the Seton Hall game that I stayed up and watched with my family last night. And how could we go very far wrong tonight with St. John's, Ohio State, and Duke, UConn to look forward to? I don't know. I give UConn a good chance against Duke tonight. I don't think that all the pundits are saying making Duke a very heavy favorite. I have Duke in my Final Four. I've still got three teams alive. I think I've got Duke, Vegas, and who's my other one? I'll have to consult my sheet, but I know I've got three alive. Who's my other one? I can't remember. John Sherman has got all three of his alive. Bill St. Onge, our sports lawyer, he's down to, I think, just Seton Hall alive, and they're playing UNLV next in the tournament, so he's not looking too good. My 9-year-old John has got all four of his teams alive, though, so that tells us something. Good program yesterday. I appreciate all of the calls. Things started off a little bit slow yesterday in the discussion with Peter Boss of Wellesley, Massachusetts, and Bill Hull of Pomfret in the discussion about the Kelp Project. I think that we were handicapped by the notion that we should try to get out some information about this poll that had been conducted. It was commissioned by the Kelp developers, and it was done by that UConn group that does the political polls. And it was really kind of hard to get our teeth into. Our guests themselves did not try really very effectively, I don't think, to use the data in the poll to support their position that Northeastern Connecticut either wants or needs the incinerator. And, of course, you, the listeners and potential phoners, were at a loss to discuss it intelligently because you hadn't seen it and not much of it had been in any of the newspapers. So things got off to a slow start. And then the management of the station made a seat-of-the-pants decision to run the talk show a second hour, which was a good decision and helpful. And you folks phoned in and asked a lot of good questions and challenged our guests, and I think it turned out to be a good program, and I hope that you learned something. I've been trying to think about what I learned about all of this yesterday, and in essence, what I learned is a lesson that I've learned before and keep relearning, and that is that most things that are really important, most issues that are really important, are complex. Very rarely are things that are important simple and straightforward and black and white. As I said yesterday, you may have noticed that I introduced the program by referring to Bill Hull as an old friend. I've known Bill Hull for almost all of the years I've lived in Northeastern Connecticut. I didn't say it's not particularly relevant that I've worked for him before, as I've made signs for him. That's what I do for a living, and on 2 or 3 different occasions, Bill Hull hired me to make signs. Most recently, probably about 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago at least. And I've always admired him because, like my father and contemporaries of my father and other people that I've known in my life, Bill Hull is almost a larger-than-life kind of character. He is a can-do person. He's extremely intelligent, an intense man. He's a small man in stature, but really a big man in most ways that you would count the size of a person. He probably should have been born in the 19th or the 18th centuries because he's the kind of guy that would have taken his family west, probably in the Conestoga wagon, and blazed new frontiers, driven a cattle drive north from Texas, like in the movies, or helped found a new territory and been one of the guys to form a new government in a new state and build a new town and build a ranch. And the heroes of the 19th century in America At an earlier time in the history of the United States, there were physical frontiers. There were geographic frontiers. If you were from Pomfret, Connecticut, you could, in the 19th century, you could decide, or in the 18th century, you could decide to head west. You could go and blaze new frontiers that were physical frontiers. And as Bill Hull has done in northeastern Connecticut, you could cut down trees and clear land and build a sawmill and build buildings, all of which Bill has done. And you could do that. You could go on and you could do that forever because the frontier was seemingly endless. But in the 20th century, in northeastern Connecticut, the frontiers are not geographic. Unfortunately, for some folks, the frontiers are in science and technology and information. So it's interesting to me that this character, who I think would have been more comfortable living in another time, finds himself limited by the times in which he lives, and so he is pushing back the frontiers in technology. In the 20th century milieu in which he finds himself, he is pushing back the frontiers by investing money and his energies in new technology, in building an incinerator to burn wood, the material which his experience has made him most knowledgeable about. He's going to burn wood, and he believes in technology. He believes in the possibilities that technology offers. And that's a healthy thing, isn't it, really? People that believe that Star Wars would work, that the Patriot missiles that knocked down all those Scuds in Saudi Arabia and Israel, that they would work. That believe that you can build bridges over rivers and that you can put a man on the moon and that you can put a space shuttle up in the sky. We need people that believe in technology, and Bill Hull believes in technology. Me, for my part, I wish that plant was not going to be built in Killingly. I don't have the same faith in the technology. I believe that as he said, he and Mr. Boss will eventually have only a 5 to 10% piece of the ownership of the kelp plant. Eventually, there are others. There'll be another big investor that will own close, if not 50%, of the business. The power and influence of Mr. Boss and Mr. Hull, who sat here with me yesterday and talked to you in northeastern Connecticut, their influence will diminish. We will get used to whatever the level of pollution that emits from that plant. We'll get used to it. And as we got used to the grease smells from the Frito-Lay plant, whatever emissions come from the kelp plant, we'll get used to. And we'll not have the power to do very much about it. We won't be able to understand the science and technology well enough to be able to make good judgments about what, if anything, has happened to our air quality or our groundwater quality. And the thing will get away from us, and we'll get away from the values of Bill Hull, and we'll get away from the values of northeastern Connecticut, and we'll get away from the values of our politics of northeastern Connecticut. And it won't just be Isham Martin sitting at a microphone arguing with Bill Hull and Peter Boss, or people from Putnam and Killingly and Pomfret phoning in and arguing with Bill Hull and Peter Boss. So I guess I wish that it weren't happening. But at the same time, I like Bill Hull, and I admire people with big dreams and big ideas and the energy to try and make things happen. Isham Martin on the WINY talk show. We've got an open forum today. We can talk about yesterday's program. We can talk about state finances. We can talk about basketball. We can talk about Jerry Langlois from Thompson's proposal for a progressive graduated state income tax, an editorial in the Norwich Bulletin about that this morning. Whatever you want when we come right back.
What do
We're back, and let's take some phone calls. Good morning.
Morning.
Hi.
Mr. Hall and Mr. Barr said yesterday they paid, what, $12,000 to commission that poll from Yukon?
Somehow 16 stuck in my mind.
Oh, okay, 16.
I'm not positive. I'm not positive. I don't have my notes in front of me.
So if you pay $16,000, how do you expect to get an unbiased poll? If you get an appraisal, if you pay for an appraisal on a piece of property, the price is going to be high. The other person who has it appraised, his appraisal is going to be low.
Well, that's my belief that you usually can influence to some degree an appraisal. If you, I'm sure that there are appraisers that are so straight-laced that they have no bias at all, no matter who pays them and how much they're paid. But I think that some are biased in the way you describe. I wish that you had seen the study. I don't think that it's that favorable to them. And as came out yesterday, the question is not asked here anywhere, are you in favor of the kelp incinerator? So there was no chance for anybody to...
So why have the poll in the first place, then, if kelp wasn't mentioned?
Well, I'm not sure. I suppose that you would hope that what the real issue is.
And,
which is local control.
Yes, local control is essential with regard to physical responsibility. And I would hope that maybe some of your listeners, if they feel that this is a worthy cause, contact their state legislators to indeed ask that a substantial revision of the binding arbitration laws be put into effect.
I think you're right. I hope they'll do that. And I've got to move along because I got two more calls. Thanks a lot, George. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, I have to agree with the woman that called in about the Brooklyn jail. I visited yesterday.
You did go.
Yes, I did.
Good for you.
I visited last night with friends of mine, and my 7-year-old daughter thought it would be a good thing to put bars on the windows of Brooklyn School and change the school over to the jail. She liked it so much. It was quite an eyeful, I must admit. I was very disgusted to think that we, are thinking about putting a income tax on the people of Connecticut, and they've spent money in such a way to put in a $30,000 gym for people who have violated other people's rights. I was really disgusted. I really don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that were there felt the same way. There was another woman with a son there that said, I brought my son in hopes to, show him that, you don't want to do bad things because you're going to end up in a place like this. And he thinks this place is great.
He wanted an application.
Yeah, he did. Honest to God, it was quite the thing.
Well,
do you think at all what I thought a prison would be?
Well, let's be specific. To start with, it's all new and everything is glistening and shiny and brand spanking new. So that helps it look nice to begin with. What about? Did you get into the areas where the guys actually will sleep?
Yes.
And what's that like?
It's a big... I used to work at Mansfield Training School, so I liken it to a day room, a day hall. There's a big, very large room, and then all around the outside, there are little cubicles with no bars, just a cubicle where there's a doorway in. They have their lockers. They have tables and chairs to use as it looked to be a desk. They have 2 bunk beds with 4 beds on the other wall. But everything's open. And we talked to some of the guards there, some of the female guards that said there are 76 prisoners in a cubicle, that there would be 1 guard in with the population at any given time. So, that to me doesn't seem too safe. She has keys on her. So that if they wanted to knock her over the head and take her keys, she said there was no video cameras to have like a control desk or something watch inside of these wards, I guess you would call them. There's a day room with a TV. And she also mentioned that the prisoners were upset that they didn't have HBO.
tough new geese.
Yes, and I mean, I left there, I was just very upset to think that, I worked at Mansfield Training School, and those children in there that didn't have any choice in their situation and how they were, didn't have what these people are going to have in the Brooklyn jail, that defile other people's rights and property, and I was disgusted. I thought it was an appalling situation.
Okay, thanks for talking with us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
Isham Martin on the talk show. Anybody else go to see the Brooklyn jail? 2 eyewitness accounts from listeners of ours that were there yesterday. And so far, everybody thinks that it's too nice. What do you think? Isham Martin on the WINY talk show, where today we have an open forum, and it's a good subject. The Brooklyn jail, is it too fancy? What kinds of conditions ought prisoners in our state institutions be living in? We'll be right back.
What do most people do before they make a major purchase?
Most people shop around and compare prices.
Before you buy your next...
Okay, I blew the end of Austin's ad there. Aaron has just brought me some of the other facts from yesterday out of the press kit that was given out at the open house at the Brooklyn jail. The dormitory, well, let's see, it's 33,000 square feet of dormitory, 72,000 square foot of support building, and in the dormitory, it's to house 304, in addition to the 180 presently. Each quarter contains 19 cubicles, a day room, bathroom facilities, a laundry room, a storage closet, a counselor's office, and an officer's station. Each cubicle houses 4 men. Each cubicle contains 2 double bunks, 4 lockers, 2 chairs, and a writing table. And then support building is divided into 13 function areas: lobby, inmate visiting, admitting and processing, control center, administration, medical supervision, counseling and inmate records, education and library, dining and food preparation, gymnasium, commissary, maintenance, and custodial supervision. And let's take some phone calls. Good morning.
Good morning, Aisha.
Hi.
I didn't have the chance to get to see the new jail.
Speak just a little louder into your phone if you can.
Okay. I didn't have a chance to get to visit the jail yesterday, but I am all for having them have more activities. I also work in Mansfield, and if that lady remembers that when the kids were active, it wasn't so bad. You just get a room of men that just going to sit there and look at each other. Then they're going to, they're going to get bored, and then that's when they're going to start picking on somebody. And I feel that they should have something like this. Of course, I don't mean for the ones that are arrested 5 times out of the year, if that's possible.
Right.
But I mean for the first timers to get in there, and I have this strong feeling that it's better for people to keep active.
Well, you know what I think?
Just sit back on their haunches.
I think you're onto something. It wouldn't bother me much if the facilities were nice and decent, because I don't think that we want to have people live in a depraved atmosphere just because they're are paying a debt to society and have been sentenced to jail. I think the thing that is missing from a lot of modern corrections is work. I think that there needs to be a larger and larger component of hard work. That's what we want for our kids. That's when we find that our kids are the happiest and feeling the best about themselves, and building character and good habits and some skills to use in the outside world.
Right.
And I think that somewhere along the way, either the special interests and labor unions that were competing for jobs with prisoners, or liberals who were self-conscious about making prisoners labor, somewhere along the line, we gave up too much of that work component. And, you knocked yourself out at Mansfield Training School, and I'm knocking myself out making a living, and the rest of us out on the outside, as they say, are killing ourselves working and paying taxes. I think that there would be nothing wrong with getting 8 hours of labor out of prisoners.
Well, no, I want to see them, but I'd want to see them have things so they are active.
Yeah.
Because an active group is a lot easier to control than a group that is just with nothing to do, because that's when they can think. And like these kids, they're mostly kids now, they're in for, I know, they harm society in one way or other, but yet I feel they need the exercise, they need this. I don't feel they should get up in the morning and have their breakfast brought to them and sleep till noon and all these things. But no, I really think these guys most of them were not working. They were hanging around the street. See, they were doing nothing.
Yep.
Here, they probably will get into a place and learn how to keep active even when you don't have nothing to keep active with.
Okay, got to move along. You too. Thank you. There's another point of view. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning.
Hi.
Listen, all the felons aren't in prison. They're out here everywhere, and it isn't because they're locked up. It's because they're not being found out. I don't know what's the matter with people anyway.
I don't know.
What is wrong with the people? I mean, they want the best for these. Hey, listen, I didn't call up to talk about this. I mean, but I've never seen a raw sense of what's right and what's wrong. Last week, there was a lady that called in and said that she would cut out every social program, every one of them. Here they built the heads of states here are building all kinds of jails to house all these criminals, and the weight room, it'll make them stronger so they can break into your house. You know, I mean, they're going to build up their muscles. I'm tired of this. I don't know about how anybody else feels. I mean, what is wrong with the thinking of the people? I'd like to ask that lady that says cut out all the social programs if she would like to take her elderly mother or father into her home, if it would only cost her $100 a month to let them stay in their own home.
Yeah.
You know, and then if you put them in the nursing home, the state has to come up with maybe $2,500 every month because they take your Social Security check. Now, I'm talking about aid to elderly and disabled. It's tax relief. I mean, people deserve that consideration. Mm-hmm. And that's all I have to say. And
Okay.
I'm amazed at the way people think. Sure, let's listen. Years ago, when people did wrong, they paid the price, and there was no such thing as weight rooms and all. And they straightened themselves out when they felt it was time or when they were too sick to do anything else.
Okay,
Here we are. We're in our own home. We're sick every day, and we have to be under stress because there's not enough money to go around, and they're telling the people they're going to cut this out and cut that out. And those people in the special district, that they promised them $500 reduction on their taxes for revaluation, that looks as if it's not going to come true either. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Isham. Barbara.
Yes, Barbara.
May I have two items?
Okay.
One is very quick in passing. I agree with your view of the Brooklyn jail question and the lady before the last one who called in. Might I just inject, too, that...
Of course, so many of your family members have been in prison, so you have a different outlook.
Listen, whose background is spotless?
That's right. There, but for the grace of God, go you and I.
Exactly, my friend, exactly. And may I say that the word recidivism is part of the thinking, I'm sure, of the correctional institution. A large percentage of criminals return after a small time. It's the old revolving door process. So the point is that once we get them in, and my understanding is that Brooklyn is not the world's worst. They're not the worst inmates.
You mean the
down there.
population?
Those are sent elsewhere.
Yeah.
So once we get them in, the point is to try to improve them, to make decent human beings out of them. So many of them cannot read.
Mm-hmm.
And today, where do you go without reading?
Yeah.
So this is...
I'll bet they can't spell recidivism.
Well,
they can do it. They can do it, but they can't say it.
Well, it's a tough one. It's like statistics. Now, the other thing is, may I explain to you about our delayed St. Patrick's corned beef dinner in East Woodstock this Saturday night?
Yes.
You have been very helpful with nonprofits, and our church has needed a dishwasher for a long time to protect all of us from bugs.
Right.
And we were existing without one. Well, from last year's St. Patrick's dinner, which was the first one we ever did, was a fabulous success. And we were able, with other donations, to purchase a dishwasher. But now we are having a second dinner to be sure we can pay for the installation of it.
All right.
So that helps, too. Now,
this is for the East Woodstock Congregational Church?
East Woodstock Congregational Church in Fellowship Hall. And it's going to be at 6:30 this Saturday night, March 23rd. It should have been last week, but we didn't want to conflict with the Academy's spring concert.
Right.
So that is why we are labeling it delayed St. Patrick's. So come and enjoy the Irish menu.
Corned beef and cabbage.
Corned beef and
boiled
cabbage.
Potatoes.
And just for a secret, we're even going to have live organ music.
Live organ music.
Yeah, with an Irish player.
Sounds like a Ray Hibbard gig.
You're not kidding. Well, thank you so much. Come and wear the green.
Okay, so people can just show up and pay at the door.
Oh, yes, they can. By the way, tickets are $7 for adults and $3 for children. And I do have 3 numbers, if you would allow me.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, to make sure you can get tickets. 928-5233 and 928-2932. And the last one is a 974-2824.
Okay. So your family members are going to be out of prison just long enough to prepare to boil the cabbage.
Well, we've learned our lesson.
Okay.
And we're going to be right there.
Okay, you're a good egg. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Isham.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Isham Martin on the WINY talk show. We got more calls coming in talking about the Brooklyn jail. Is it too much? Let us know what you think. We'll be back. We will do the menu at the Brooklyn jail. We're back. Isham Martin on the talk show. We've got 3 good phone calls coming in. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I would like to say, I think, to make an understatement, there's a lot of inequities in the system. Well, even I'm not the woman that called about the, throwing away all the social systems, but, in some ways I can't agree with her because I recently became unemployed and I had to go the gamut of all these systems, and I found that there was nothing there for me. In fact, I was told that they hardly had enough for their own. And I would like to know who their own is. It's not a person that's been paying taxes all these years. Then I fell down and broke my arm, and I thought I'd be able to get a medical card from them, but I found that I make too much money on unemployment to be able to get medical assistance. So if you want to talk about people falling through the cracks, you never know until it happens, to you, what's out there. There's nothing unless you make a habit of having generation after generation be on welfare, taking drugs and dopes and battering people, and then they're eligible for every kind of assistance, medical, psychiatric, food stamps, whatever there is, until they become 60 or something, and then they want to sign over their house for a pittance a month just to get security. At the end, everybody is equal. Everybody is poor. Does that sound fair?
So for people that are that have been hardworking and are in just in a little bit of difficulty, there isn't much in the way of programs.
There's nothing out there.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. And as far as the jails go, what is the purpose of a jail? It's to correct and also to send a message to the public that this is not to be done.
Mm-hmm.
This could happen to you. If you do this, you're not going to get a weight room or a better life, than you need.
Well, the idea of prison as deterrence, studies have shown that it doesn't work. In my heart, I've always wanted to believe that jail time would be a deterrent to committing crime. They say that even the death penalty is not a deterrent to committing crime. But I think that the most certain thing is that at least if we could get some work out of these people so that they were paying their way while they were in jail to lessen the burden to the taxpayer, that you could be sure of. If I was told that most of the beautiful stone walls and fences in Brooklyn were made by prisoners in the old days, when prisoners still labored. At least there's something tangible there, a tangible sign or benefit of the fact that people were in jail paying their debt to society.
Even if they could do, something toward helping themselves, something similar to a work or a work-study, depending on the age, whether it's an elderly person or a young person should be forced to have a school program and not just be thrown in with older, hardened criminals to learn the ropes.
Yeah.
They should go just as they would a school day. The very thing that they try to escape it from on the streets, probably. They should have to suffer, or unquote, or whatever, and get their education in their right season of their years. But I wouldn't say take an old man out there and force them to be a bricklayer or do whatever they did in Georgia chain gangs or something like that. But I would say age-appropriate work certainly would be, and if they could come out looking at, if we could feel safe around them, I think many of the people, anyway, that we should fear are not in jail.
Okay.
They're on the streets.
Got to move along.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Isham Martin on the talk show. Still 2 phone callers waiting. We'll be right back to you after Bob Harris's forecast, brought to you by Safeway Petroleum. And it's 47 degrees in Putnam by the Cargill Falls. Let's take some more calls. Good morning.
Yes. I was lucky enough to go see that jail yesterday. And there's 2 things that I did notice. Number 1, there was no smoking signs all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that the inmates are not going to be able to smoke? Because the warden had mentioned the reasoning for the central air conditioning was to cool down hot smoking when he really doesn't want to. That's going to really set off some hot tempers.
Yeah, but only for a couple of weeks.
No. I'm a reformed smoker, and it took me over a year. Cigarette smoking isn't that easy just to quit for a couple of weeks. You don't get over it in a couple of weeks. And another thing I noticed was all the new TVs that they have, but yet the guards didn't have one. I know they're there to work, but when they have a break, I would think that they would have the right also to sit down and watch a news program or something. And these guys, they have cable TV, and I can't afford cable, and I have never committed a crime in my entire life, and I can't afford cable. So, it's like, maybe we should commit a crime to go there in order to get at least to watch something decent. Because in this area, if you don't have cable, you don't get to see anything at all.
Right.
And I just wondering, about the no smoking signs. What is it for? Is it for just the guards, or is it for everybody? And what about the TVs? Are the guards there?
I disagree with you. I think that there should be no smoking allowed for inmates at all. The state, they've lost their freedom. The state has taken control of them during the time that they're there. If we're really concerned about their health, and we're providing them basketball courts at great expense to the taxpayers, and we're providing them gyms and other facility, the biggest thing we could do for their health is to not let them smoke anymore. Treat them like children. Take their cigarettes away. Because, on the other end, those of us that refuse to quit smoking are a burden to the society and an expense to the society with all the health problems that we bring upon ourselves later in life. There's not much that we can do about people in the free society that choose to smoke, but we'd be doing them a favor rehabilitating them on the cigarette smoking front while they're in jail.
But if they really don't want to quit, you can't force a person to quit if they don't want to.
You sure can in jail.
I know you can, but if I know that they're in jail and they lost all their rights, but they have the right to have cable, they have the right to have air conditioning,
they have more rights than a person out on the, regular person on the streets that don't commit the crimes. I mean, I can't afford half these things, and I've never done a crime.
Well, you know what? If people feel strongly about the cable television in the jail, and I do, I think they should be reading books.
I think so, too.
Just because the wire is there doesn't mean it has to be turned on and paid for. We're in a budget crunch. I got an article here that I wanted to get to today about the cutbacks at the library at UConn. They're going to have to cut back on the hours, and they're going to have, no budget for buying new books and periodicals at the University of Connecticut. Why should we cut back on the library services at our top university in the state and provide cable television at the jail? I think it's a joke, and that people should make a stink, and we should they should just not pay for the service.
That's right. They can get some heavy-duty antennas up on the roof there and pick up at least the 3 basic channels. That's all they need in there.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
I got to move.
Okay.
Oh, boy, let's see. What have we got? 4, Brenna? Hello, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
After 15 minutes and 1 disconnect, I finally got through.
Well, busy day. It's a hot subject.
Listen, I was a brig chaser with the Marine Corps, and I took people to jail. I walked prisoners around, and they got 3 things. They got a bed, they got 1 toilet bowl in the cell, and they got 3 meals a day. And for exercise, they got the big rocks into little rocks. And that's all I think most prisoners deserve. I mean, a lot of this liberal stuff, that's why half the people get away with what they do, because everything has got liberal. And it's time we get a little conservative. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay. Who we got now? We got line 2. Boy, good morning.
Good morning, Isham.
Hi.
I was just wanting to share a little something with you on the prison system. I just got through working on a new prison barge for the city of New York last year.
A prison barge?
Barge. It's going to be a floating jail. It's going to hold 850.
Sounds like a good idea on the face of it.
Well, it's so bizarre you wouldn't believe it. It would make Brooklyn jail seem very antiquated. The whole thing behind this today, the whole philosophy, is you're taking a lot of these tough people in, but you try to treat them correctly, treat them like human beings, before you turn them back out. You can't treat people like a pack of wild animals and then turn them out onto the street again. Let me tell you about this prison barge in New York. It's 850 individual cells, not a big dormitory. Who the hell would want to live in a dormitory like that? You know? Have you ever lived like that when you were in camp or anything?
It sounds terrible.
Huh?
Sounds terrible.
Well, these are individual cells.
If even a third of the guys were animals that you were living with, they certainly could completely ruin the environment for you.
Well, and
some
the
people want that.
abuse is tremendous.
Do you believe that I'm right that really exists and that's a problem? The warden downplayed that when she was here the other day.
Well, in dormitories, it's a problem.
Yeah.
That's why in New York they went to individual cells. And they all have TVs, they have built-in desks, and they have their own lavatory and sink in there. Also, they have gymnasiums. They have 2 galleys in this place. They have a restaurant which prepares nothing but kosher food for the Jewish prisoners and the Jewish employees that work there, and also a regular mess hall for the majority of the people.
What are these like? People from the savings and loan scandal and the brokers?
No. These are people who are finishing out their term, and it's more or less, I wouldn't say it was a halfway house, but it's something where they'll spend their last year at this prison. That's all. But the whole prison system is changing. They've found, and I only learned this by being educated, because I thought the thing was very bizarre, but the fact remains, and it's done by statistics, that if you treat the prisoners good when they're in prison, they become better people when they go back out on the street. And that's why they're building facilities like they are. I don't know what these people want around here. If they want to cage them up like animals and feed them like gorillas, put bread and water through the bars. I mean, I really don't know what they want. I just can't believe that all these people are calling in. And that woman who wants everybody to die of AIDS, she calls in every day. So the same people call in. Okay, I thought I'd share that with you.
Okay,
anyway,
good job.
To let you know what was going on.
Good job.
Thank you.
Oh, boy, Isham Martin on the talk show. Hot subject today, what you think about what prisons ought to be like. And we've heard from some people who visited the Brooklyn jail. yesterday. We'll be right back. Visit Petrowski Real Estate this weekend at the Plainfield Home and Product Show, March 23rd and March 24th at the Plainfield High School.
You know, about that...
We're back. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning.
I need everybody to be quick now because I've got some other calls and we're out of time.
Okay, I'd just like to make a comment on your last caller's comment that if you treat these prisoners nice, they're going to become better people.
Mm-hmm.
Why are there so many repeat offenders if that's the case?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'd like to know. And I agree with you that I think they need to have something to do. They need some work. They do need to, I think, have some help with their studies while they're in prison, educate them as far as reading.
Yeah.
But I think there's nothing wrong with putting them to work somewhere.
I think work is good for the soul for all of us. We're all happier when when we're working hard.
I have a suggestion. The Brooklyn dump recycles glass.
Yep.
But they don't sort the colored glass from the white glass.
Yep.
The town could be making money selling that clear glass to Anchor Glass right over in Dayville if they had people there to sort it.
Okay.
The dump doesn't have the time or the energy to do it, but why couldn't they have some of these minimum security people over there?
Good job.
To do that.
Okay, thanks a lot. Got to run. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. What irritates me is the pat answer they always give. These people are being punished. They have lost their freedom. Hey, I enlisted in the U.S. Navy during World War II, and I lost my freedom. I didn't break any laws. I was serving my country.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
That's true.
Yep. Bye-bye. Let's see. We got another call. Which one? We got line 2, Brenna. Thank you. Good morning.
Yes.
You're the last call of the day. Huh?
Okay, I believe there has to be a balance between growth programs and work. I don't believe that they should be having a free ride. They could do something, selling plants, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to help pay for their room and board, to help pay for this building. The growth program and doing work, I mean, that's the way it is in life.
Mm-hmm.
We have to pay for our air conditioning, for our heat, if we can even afford air conditioning. And they could do something, and they would feel good. It'd make them feel better equipped for when they do get out. When they get out, they got to pay room and board, heat, et cetera. And by doing something to help pay for it, it would be great.
Mm-hmm. Good job. Thank you. Well, I think what we have to do is we have to have some group organized in northeastern Connecticut that are friends of the Brooklyn jail to monitor this and to take some responsibility locally about how the institutions that are being run in our own area under our nose. Sure, we're paying for that and for a lot of other facilities across the state, but we could monitor just the Brooklyn jail and see how money is being spent there and whether Corrections is doing a good job. We're out here. Good program. Thanks, everybody. It's 10 o'clock. Tournament. I would really love to see them lose and not go to the tournament. Pitt is going to play Seton Hall noon on Friday, and St. John's is going to play Providence at 7 o'clock on Friday. The UConn-Georgetown winner will be playing the St. John's Providence winner. So you local fans of PC and UConn, wouldn't it be fun to have a UConn-Providence College matchup in that second round? We've made some picks here hurriedly at the station this morning. No surprise, Aaron Cox has picked Syracuse, a real objective pick on her part. Isham has picked Seton Hall, kind of a long shot off-the-wall prediction here. But I'm hot off my predictions of the Giants over Buffalo in the Super Bowl, so feeling cocky. John Sherman, whose livelihood this is really, and who can't afford to make too many wrong picks. John Sherman picking the Johnnies. We're going to have a big NCAA tournament program on Monday. For the whole program, John's going to be in here, and we're going to talk about the whole 64-team bracket and what we think is going to happen in the NCAA tournament. That's my favorite sporting event. I wonder if my wife will really let me watch 27 basketball games in the next couple weeks. March Madness. Come on, Mary, give me a break. Tomorrow, we've got Jane St. Ange in here talking about United Services with her friend Nancy Macy. Be with us. WINY in Putnam. It's 10 o'clock. 4:30. Okay, that's stolen from Furlan Drive area in Dayville. 2 German Shepherd mixed pups, Boomer and Blackie. Any sign of those dogs, call 779-3430. A doggone bulletin from WINY. Isham Martin on the talk show. We're about wrapping up today. My final thought is the president's right. We've got a lot of untapped resources in the United States. A lot of people who are working very hard as volunteers to make our towns better and our state and our country. Some of us are working hard and can still work harder. Some haven't done anything much lately. Maybe it would be a blessing in their lives if they got out and did something for somebody else. And I think there's a lot more that we can do, and even with this war effort and the expense and the sadness of it, I agree with the president. Brighter days are...